Hello, my name's John Purcell, and this is the first in a series of videos on making a living teaching online. And I currently make a living teaching online, and I just wanted to make a series of fairly short tutorials showing you how you can do that too if you want to. And even if you don't think you've got any skills that you could teach, I hope to demonstrate to you in this video that in fact you could make a living teaching online if you wanted to. And this is something that you could even do alongside your existing job if you want to, either to make some more money or to gradually change to make a living completely teaching online. And the first step, which we're going to look at in this particular tutorial, is you have to decide, of course, what it is that you're going to teach online. Now, you don't have to be an expert in whatever it is that you teach, but you've got to be able to find people who know less than you about it and will be prepared to pay you for lessons. So like the most obvious and natural choice would be if you have existing skills in some area. And even if your situation is that you hate your job, but you have skills in it, you could consider teaching it online, because teaching something online is completely different to actually working in it. And in my case, I really hated working in an office for 8 hours a day, creating random bits of software, because I teach computer programming online at the moment, and previously I taught English. But for me, teaching lessons for an hour or 2 hours a day and actually talking to people and doing it from home is very, very different to the actual job. So if you have existing skills, even if you hate what you're currently doing, I would say don't discard it as a possibility for something that you could teach, because you're going to feel much more confident teaching something that you know inside out than something that you don't know very well. And in fact, even if you don't have, even if there's nothing that immediately springs to mind that you think you could teach, there probably is stuff that you've learned in the course of your life that other people would pay to learn. So if you're good at cooking, or you can fix cars, or you know how to do basic electrical tasks around the house, or I don't know, anything like that, and anything that you did for a hobby or have done, or do, anything that you know that people might pay to learn is worth considering. And another possibility is that you can teach your own language. And what I actually did initially to get out of my job was I actually moved. This is kind of a slightly higher risk strategy, which I don't recommend unless you've got good savings, but I moved to a foreign country, namely Hungary, and I put an advert in the back of the local paper advertising myself as a English teacher. And I don't have any skills particularly in English. I didn't know anything about English grammar, although I know a little bit now. And I don't have any qualifications, but there's a huge demand throughout the world for people just to practice speaking English with, and people will pay you just for conversation practice in English, which is staggering actually. And for a while I found myself just going and sitting with people and talking to them for an hour, and then they would pay me for it, even though previously, when I was at work, if I started talking about some idea that I had, often people would be like, shut up John, you sound crazy, stop talking about it, because I was always talking about things I would like to do instead of this job. But the point is that people will, if you speak English, especially if you're a native speaker, people will pay to practice English with you. And I also know a guy here who he was teaching English in person as I was, and here being Budapest, and he switched to teaching online because he said that he can make more money teaching online than he could in person. So he's teaching his own language, English, online. And if you're not very good at English, then definitely consider teaching your own language. Or even if you are good at English, if you know another language, especially if it's your first language, then you could teach that online. And people underestimate the demand for language teachers because let's say your language is relatively obscure, like, for example, I don't know, Romanian or Hungarian or something, neither of which are used massively on a global scale. There are nevertheless people who will pay to learn these languages. And there are lots of people actually in places like the USA and the UK who learn a language for a hobby. They don't even necessarily intend to use it, but they want a mental challenge. They want to learn something new. They want to be mentally stimulated, and they will pay you to help them learn your language, whether it's an obscure language relatively or not. And I think people often get hung up on whether they're good enough to teach the particular skill that they're thinking of teaching. And there are two important things to remember here, I would say. And one is that you should not focus on people who know more than you. Like I could have got hung up on people who are, I could have thought, there are expert English teachers in Budapest, actually, lots of them, so why would people pay me? But they do, and a lot of people struggle to find someone to teach the thing that they want to learn, and the experts are often charging a fortune, or they just make a living in some really official way teaching their skill. So and you can undercut them in terms of price as well. But basically what I'm saying is, don't think about the people who know more than you. Just concentrate on teaching the people who know less than you. They are your target market. The people who know more than you you just shouldn't concern yourself with them. And the other thing to say as well is you have to remember that this is capitalism, and the way capitalism works is, it's not like maybe under a communist system people would say, look, this is what you should learn, you're going to learn this, come here, learn this. But under capitalism, people are paying you for a service, and they decide what they want to learn, and they decide how to spend their money. So the question is, because a lot of people get hung up on the idea that they've got to be incredibly systematic and create a really formal structure for people to study, but the question is just, what will people pay you for? That's the question that you should ask yourself, and that's up to them basically. So you just have to provide them with a service that they want. So don't get too hung up on your level of expertise, and don't get hung up on creating some massive system to foist upon people. If you're teaching, just as an example, if you're teaching a language, then you don't need a lesson plan. People are going to start off, if you're teaching English, they will already know some English, probably, if you're teaching English in English, and they will just want to practice talking with you. If you're teaching a language from scratch, then they're going to come to you, they're just going to want to know how to say basic words to start with. You know this already. You don't have to make out some huge lesson plan. And in fact, I find that people are repelled by system and by lesson plans and formality. A lot of people are repelled by it because we all go through this school system, or most of us do, and we get sick of people telling us stuff. We get sick of having to study things and being told what to study. And when people are looking how to spend their money, they just want someone they can talk to who will explain things with them and help them to learn something. A lot of people even have a book or some course that they're going through, and they just want help with it. There are a lot of students studying at universities who want help understanding their course. Or if people are learning English, they often just want to, as I say, they just want to practice talking with someone, or if it's a foreign language, they might be going through a book already that they want help with. But a lot of the time, I find people are just happy if you're explaining the basics of something off the top of your head to them. The only skill you need is to have just a modicum of skill at explaining stuff, and as long as you can do that, you don't need to get hung up on formal lesson plans and things like that. Things like that are not necessary. You can ask people what they want to know and teach them that. And another good thing to do is you can give like a free trial lesson of, let's say, half an hour or an hour. And a lot of people some people will certainly take the free trial and not come back again, but others will take the free trial and they'll say, yeah, I appreciate your skill level, you seem like a friendly person, so they'll pay you for lessons. And that way you're showing them what you can do for them, and they are deciding if they want that or not. You absolutely do not have to get hung up on whether you're an expert or not. Now there's a useful tool that you can use to help you decide whether a particular area, a particular subject that you're thinking of teaching is a goer or not, and it's a Google keyword tool. And if you create a free account with Google, that's the first step. On Google there's always this sign in thing, and you can just click that and then create an account for free if you haven't got one already. And then in Google, search for Google keyword tool and go to this. Make sure you sign in if you're not already signed in, because you get better results that way. And then whatever it is you're planning to teach, think what people would type in to the internet if they were looking for lessons in that area. So let's say I've decided that I'm good at origami, paper folding, and I want to know if people are searching for lessons in origami, and I've got no idea whether they are or not. But you would type something into here like origami tutorial, let's say, and search for it. And this will give you a load of suggestions for things that people are searching for in this area. So let's have a look at this, tutorials here, and here's a bunch of stuff that people are searching for, and this is the number of people per month, global monthly searches, who are searching for that. And whatever you teach, you want to make sure that enough people are searching for it that you can support yourself from those people finding your lessons. So I mean, another thing to bear in mind actually is the competition, and I don't know if origami is a goer or not. I suspect that you could make a living teaching origami, but I think it might be one of the more difficult things, because this is like purely a thing that people would do completely for a hobby. Very few people need to know origami for a job. Very few people have a pressing need to learn origami, but nevertheless this is an example. And what you want to see ideally is high demand. Ideally it would be like 20,000 plus a month, and low competition, because if you decide to teach something but there's already vast amounts of people teaching that and not many people per month searching for it, then you're going to struggle with that. But if you see lots of monthly searches and hardly anyone teaching it, then that's a wonderful sign. And we're going to go into this probably a bit more in the next tutorial, and the next tutorial is going to be on how you can create a website really quickly in like 10 minutes advertising your service. Now you can click on these keywords actually, and you can do a Google search, and you can look at what other websites are offering lessons potentially in your subject area, and it's always good to have a look at that. And you want to, in general, you probably want to avoid competing with massive established sites. But having said that, if you look at something like English lessons, I'd be willing to bet that the demand for this is, well, the demand for it is going to be very high. Let's look at Lessons Online and online English lessons. So it's almost 50,000 people a month searching for this particular phrase. and competition is high, and if you search on it, you'll find lots of huge, massive established sites that you can't compete with, offering English lessons online. But nevertheless, such is a huge demand for English lessons that you can in fact make a living from doing this. So if there is high competition, it's not necessarily a showstopper, but you do have to bear that in mind, and it boils down to using common sense basically, and this is just a tool that you can use to find out how many people per month are looking for the kind of thing that you're offering. So that's it for this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we're going to look at creating a website, and I hope this has given you some ideas about the sorts of things that you can teach online, and I hope that I've convinced you that there is stuff that you know that you could teach online, and there's no harm in trying at the end of the day as well. So I'm going to post these tutorials at www.fascinatingexperiments.com, and I actually have a website, caveofprogramming.com, where I offer my lessons and my videos for sale. Actually, I don't teach one-to-one anymore, and that's something else that we're going to go into. We're going to look at not only making active income by teaching people hour by hour, but also making videos and actually selling subscriptions to the videos online. We're going to look at that as well, because that's potentially something that's very lucrative. So if you go to fascinatingexperiments.com, you'll be able to find all my tutorials on this right there. So that's it for this time. Join me again next time, and until then, I hope that I've succeeded in inspiring you, and bye for now.